Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for your attendance. So with me is Detective Sergeant Terry Browne from the Homicide Squad, as well as Bonnie Levine, who runs the Victim Services. Last night at about 10 p.m., the Toronto Police responded to the area of Danforth and Logan with regards to a shooting incident. As a result, as you know, 2 people have succumbed to the injuries. One is an 18-year-old female, and another is a 10-year-old girl. At this point in time, we will not be releasing the names. However, later on, we definitely will be. 13 other victims ranging in the age from 10 to 59 years old are being treated in the hospital. Their injuries range from minor to serious in nature, and I can tell you that all family members of those other victims have been notified. The person responsible for this has died, and the Special Investigative Unit will be able to provide information concerning that. I will not be touching on that in any way, shape, or form. So first, on behalf of the Toronto Police Service, I'd like to offer my condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones that have been affected by this incident. I'd also like to thank the members of the Toronto Police Service for the great work that they did, along as working in partnership with our Toronto Fire Services, as well as our Toronto Paramedic Services, for a very outstanding job right from the moment that this started to right now, as we continue to do this investigation. Secondly, at the stage of this investigation, we do not know why this has happened yet. The investigation itself is very fluid. It is very new. It's going to take some time. And because of that, I'm certainly not going to invite any type of speculation. I'm not in the comfort zone of doing that. So I'm asking for your support and patience at this time. I can tell you that as we have things unfold, we will definitely provide you with whatever we can at that moment. And lastly, and most importantly, which is what I said last night, and I'll reiterate it, going forward, you can help us by calling us with any information that you may have. Understanding its geographical location, there will be a multitude of people that were present that have information. For whatever reason, if they're not disclosing it, we're asking, please give that information to us. We can never have enough. We've opened a portal on our website. If you look behind, it's torontopolice.on.ca/Danforth shooting, or you can just write tps.on.ca/Danforth shooting, and it will come to us. That way you can send photos and videos, and that will give us an opportunity of using that portal to further this investigation. Before I close, I just want to have Bonnie Levine, if you could just please come up and make comments with respect to victim services and what we're asking for.
Victim Services Toronto is a not-for-profit registered charity, and we work in very close partnership with the Toronto Police Service. The Toronto Police Service does a great job in making sure that victims of major crimes and tragedies that suffer trauma get immediate access to help and assistance through those referrals to us. But you don't have to be in touch with the Toronto Police to access our services. We provide short-term crisis intervention and assessment services where we assess people's needs and we provide practical assistance, as well as referral to longer-term services that people may need in the community. We know that these events have far-ranging effects. We know that not only the people who were at the Danforth and in the shops and those who were injured and families of those who are deceased are affected, but it's also re-triggering for anyone who was at the April 23rd van attack. And these situations really can compound the trauma. If anyone is needing any type of support, our services are offered 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and you can call Victim Services. You don't need a referral from the police at 416-808-7066. We want to make sure that anyone who needs support reaches out to get it.
Thank you, Bonnie. And just in closing, just dealing with logistics right now, we do have Danforth closed at this time. It is going to be some time before we release it, but I just want everyone to be aware that we are doing absolutely everything that we possibly can to release that scene having understanding that the most important thing is that we capture all the evidence that is necessary with regards to finding out all of the answers to all of the questions. But rest assured, it is a priority for us to release the scene, to allow Danforth to open up again, and to be open for business, and to have traffic flow and all those other things that have affected the community, so that we can get things back and restored to where they are. And there are some complexities to it right now. Working with the SIU, they have invoked their mandate, making sure that we have an appreciation of that oversight. We welcome that oversight, but we also want to make sure that we don't step over any lines that might compromise that aspect of the investigation as well. So there are a lot of moving parts to this, and the most important thing is that this is early right now, and hopefully as time and as evidence unfolds, we have an opportunity to provide further information to you. Having said that, are there any questions that anyone would like to ask to myself or to Bonnie Levine or to Detective Sergeant Browne, who is here?
Can you tell us why we're not learning anything about the suspect? Is that because of the SIU investigation?
Yes, SIU has invoked a mandate. They have to conduct an investigation. By law, there are things that I can and cannot say, and I respect the oversight. I welcome the oversight, and I want to make sure that it is done by the numbers. It is a bit of a dance between the two entities. We've got the substantive murder investigations plus the shootings, and so there has to be some work in concert, realizing that I've got so many boots on the ground, looking at capturing the video evidence, which will help give us a bigger snapshot of the how things happened, but also appreciating the fact that our officers were in contact with the suspect at some point in time, respecting that, making sure that we don't compromise anything investigatively from that perspective. So the relationship between the suspect and the police is what they'll be investigating to look for anything from that and how that transpires. So it's important for me to make sure that I'm complete arm's length from that aspect of it, and ensuring that the homicide investigation, all the other substantive charges are fully investigated. So we're doing our best to make sure that both are equally respected and both given a proper consideration.
Chief Saunders.
Yes.
To get clarification about those numbers, yesterday we were told 14 people shot, and then adding on the suspect to that, those numbers were 15. You said 2 dead now plus 13 other victims, and so in that 13, are you including the suspect, or do we have an additional victim?
Okay. I'll give the numbers because they are a little bit convoluted for me. So if I'm going to talk about anyone that was struck with a bullet projectile, in total, 16. 2 people have succumbed to the injuries, leaving 13 who have been shot. They're in a hospital, and the suspect also has gunshot injury.
So that's 16 includes the
That's 16 including, yes.
You just said that last night as well, the suspect was shot.
The suspect has received a gunshot wound, and I have not expanded on that, nor will I.
Just in terms of, you said that you can't speculate on motive. Have you been able to rule out any possible motives, particularly terrorism?
No, it's way too early to rule out anything. That would not be serving justice well. These investigations, and I guess with the speed in which information flows right now, there's this public want for consumption of as much as possible, and I can appreciate that. But having had knowledge of dealing with homicide investigations, it doesn't move that quick, because at the end of the day, we have to be able to articulate a lot of questions that need to be answered. And the moment you start closing things early, then you put the investigation in compromise. So absolutely everything is open right now, and which is why I'm doing this appeal, because we'll never stop. And a lot of people think that we'll have too much information because it was in such a busy area. Everyone's going to kind of go, well, someone else is going to call. And we get that quite a bit. So I'm here a second time because that is what's most important to us right now. I know that there are people that have just a snippet, but that snippet adds to the seamless picture that we're trying to draw here, and that's what's most important right now.
A lot of residents in the city really seem to be rattled by this particular event, and there's a sense that there's enough words, we want action. So what is your plan to stop this reign of gun violence in our city?
Well, a bit loaded on that part, but here's what I will say. I live in the city of Toronto, and I too have concerns. I can tell you that there is a newness to this in Toronto's environment. Other large cities across the world go through this tremendously more than we have. I think that we have to figure out what we can do collectively. It's going to take time. There is no magic pill that we're going to take to say all is well. But I can tell you from keeping the city safe, I think, the highest trained officers in the country that will do their best to make sure that over time people will climatize, working with community, working with our BIAs, working with all levels of government. And I can tell you in this particular instance, all layers of government have contacted me. All layers of government have asked what can they do to help. And so we're in the process of having those conversations. But it's not going to happen overnight. So I'm not going to say that, I'm here and I'm standing and all is well and we can all go home now. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is going to take time. Rest assured that we will do everything that we can do to restore that comfort that people should have in the city of Toronto. But it is a newness for us, and it's going to take a while. And we have to work collectively to figure out what we can do as a police agency to help restore what needs to be restored on that factor.
A question for Detective Sergeant Browne. Can I ask a question to the Detective Sergeant Browne?
You bet.
Detective Sergeant, you've covered a lot of homicides over the years. I know you've been in homicide for more than 10 years. Acting Inspector Atsinga, Chief Saunders, many of us covered Danzig, Eaton Center. Those were mass, casualty events from what I recall. How does this event compare for you and your team in homicide? I gather you're leading this investigation.
I am the lead, but I do have a large group of officers that are assisting me. It's really hard to compare one incident to another because, much like snowflakes, no two are the same. It was a very rapid and fluid incident, as Chief Saunders had said, that unfolded very quickly. We have several scenes within the scene. I can't get into the full details, but it was a moving scene, if you will. So it started in a certain location, then it moved down the road. So our forensic officers have a number of different scenes within the scenes that they got to concentrate on. But that being said, obviously it can be described, as Chief Saunders probably said, as disturbing. But by the same token, there were a lot of citizens in the area that when assistance was needed, provided medical assistance to the best of their ability. Emergency services were on there very quickly, Toronto Fire, ambulance services, and I would say that for the grace of emergency services right now, we're very fortunate that medical intervention happened very quickly. There are some individuals that have what may be described as life-changing injuries, but as far as comparing it to one or the other, it certainly is a very disturbing incident.
You've been investigating Eaton Center and Danzig. Is this the worst murder/attempted murder in the history of Toronto? We have 2 dead, 13 others, many with critical injuries.
Again, I don't want to qualify it as the worst or not the worst. It is an incident that has occurred in the city of Toronto. We are dealing with it, we are investigating it, and we are coming together, and we will do what needs to be done to make sure that there's a positive outcome if there can be one.
All right, what are you able to say if the shooter was on your radar? The 18-year-old and the 10-year-old girl. Can you tell us, are they from Toronto? Or all of these victims, can you tell us if any of them are from Toronto or surrounding areas, GTA?
The 18-year-old is from Toronto. The 10-year-old is from the GTA area, so nearby.
Any other victims?
Again, I don't have all of their particulars in front of me right now. As Chief Saunders said, we have a large group from 10 to 59 years of age with a different variety of injuries. So we really are all over the map here.
Speaking of those victims, can you just clarify, I know you said a large variety of injuries. How many are in good condition right now? How many were critically injured? What's the update there of those victims?
Again, some are in serious. I don't want to get into this many are suffering from this. Some have been treated and will be released in short order. Others will have to stay for a while. Some, as I said, may have life-changing injuries or life-altering injuries. It was a very, very, very quick, dynamic incident that occurred in very short order from start to finish. I don't want to give a time frame, but it was very, very quick. As I said, emergency services were on there in short order, and we do have a number of different scenes that we are now focusing on. That being said, part of the investigation includes a canvass, and I think sometimes people don't understand how important the canvass is. So we will have uniformed officers canvassing the immediate area, both north and south of Danforth in the immediate location. So if they knock on your door, or if you get a piece of paper that says, you weren't here, please contact us. Please contact us. There are so many unknown answers to questions that we have right now that we have to try and answer to the best of our ability. But most importantly and lastly, I cannot comment on this very much because the SIU has invoked their mandate. That being said, we have a duty to make sure that we conduct a complete investigation to make sure that we have as many answers as possible, number one, and to find out whether in fact there may or may not be other people involved in this.
There are 2 women here who are dead. Was this an attack on women?
Again, I can't speak to what was in this individual's mind. We'll certainly dissect everything. We're going into the background of this individual. I can tell you right now that as we speak, we are seeking judicial authorization to execute a search warrant in relation to the person that's now been arrested. I can't get into what may or may not come of that, but that's one of the things we're getting right now is authorization to search the residence.
You say that there's a 10-year-old victim, the one that's died, but then he said the ages were 10 to 59. How brazen is this? And can you also tell us if it was all in one location, like one establishment, outside, inside, where the shooting took place? And also, as I said, the fact that the victims are so young, some of them in this case. How concerning is that?
Well, I don't want to sound glib, but when someone says how brazen is this, I think that's a quasi-rhetorical question. I think all of us as members of this community are shocked and alarmed and should be that this has occurred. That being said, the chief is quite proper in what he stated. We have control of the city. This is an incident that has occurred. It's a tragic incident. There are many, many, many moving parts and victims to this incident, but we will get through this. But what we need right now, we need the assistance of anyone that lived in the area that may have any video that we don't have so far, if you can upload it. And if you heard or saw anything in relation to this incident around 10 o'clock last night, don't assume that we already have that information because we're going to need that information to complete our investigation. Now, I'm not sure what the role is of the SIU with regards to releasing this individual's name. I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that, and so I won't do that. That being said, we are going to look into the background of that individual. I'm quite certain that there will be a frenzy on social media about speculation about who this person is and what they belong to. I ask you to be cautious. We're at the very, very early stages, and we will conduct a thorough and complete investigation. So I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your attendance, but there's not a whole lot more I can comment on this active investigation.
Sir, when you say what this man belongs to, are you referring to perhaps the incel movement?
Okay, we're going to close it up. It's just 2 points that I want to address right now. First and foremost, the officers that arrived on scene, all of the frontline people did a fantastic job. I can tell you without that response, this may have been a different and a much more larger scaled event. So officers that arrived, fantastic job. And as Detective Sergeant Browne said, without the paramedical staff, without the medical support and the great work that was done, things would have been much worse. And the second piece that I do want to address is that we are going to have a heightened level of uniform presence in the Danforth area over the next while. So thank you very much for your attendance. The primary issue here is we're looking for witness appeals. We know there's a lot more evidence that needs to be captured, and I know that there is a lot more, and I'm hoping that those people that have that information, no matter how small, contact the police in any way, shape, or form, or call Crime Stoppers at 222-TIPS to help us out so that we can close any gaps that we have with this. Thank you very much, everybody.